Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In our series of top 5s, we've now arrived at core infantry. So this is definitely going to be an exciting video. I think it's going to be probably the most controversial one because a lot of people care about their core infantry. I'm curious to see the comments on this one. So let's get into it. My number 5 pick for the best infantry in core is going to be the Dwarven Hold Clan Warriors. They have a march of 9 inches, so that is not too impressive, even though it is faster than some of the others. They are sturdy and they have shield wall, which are two rules that do help them out quite a bit. But the most important here is just resilience for heavy armor and kind of cheap cost at 10 points per model. So this is, yeah, it's just decent. Can't really make anything else out of it. So the weapon options are really interesting. Great weapons are really nice for a big unit of them. Spear and shield, I believe that is just the power pick here. Because if you give them a spear and a shield, you do keep your shield wall, so you have an Aegis of 6 plus against all combat attacks and Aegis 5 plus even in the first round if the opponent is charging, which is going to be a lot. If you combine that with the spears, then you're also going to get agility bonuses. You get AP bonuses. The agility bonuses don't really matter on the dwarves, I think, but yeah, I think it's really a good unit for the cost that you pay for them with discipline 9, resilience 4, defensive 4, with heavy armor and shield wall. The number 4 pick for me is going to be the Demon Legion infantry, or specifically the Lemurs. I think this pick starts my list of infantry that actually gets movement bonuses like Swift Stride or any other movement bonus to basically make them lose their biggest weakness as infantry, which is the very low mobility. So Swift Stride is, and I think this is one of the best rules to have on your infantry. Some armies can get it through special items, like Vampire Covenant can get it on one unit. The new Dread Elves now can get it on one unit. I think this battle is still going to go away at some point. But what do Lemurs have going for them? Well, they have Swift Stride, they have an Aegis of 5 up. Each of this Demon Legion infantry has. They have Resilience 5 in core. And with Lemurs, the standard trick to do is to deploy them too wide, give them a standard and natural roots. They have an exorbitant point cost for additional models, but I don't think a lot of players play Demon Legion units in bigger units than rather small ones. So for Lemurs in specific, I think I've never seen a unit bigger than 10, and other than just too wide with a standard with the natural roots. So that's really difficult to remove this. I mean, you'd have to have a lot of attacks to and kill a lot of resilience 5 models with parry even and Aegis 5 up to get through this in one round of combat. They're not gonna do any damage, but it is also just not their role. So for my number 3 pick, it's going to be the Dread Elf Temple Militants. I bet that they're still going to change quite a bit. Because currently there's a lot of complaints of people that the Blades of Darak, most specifically, are a bit too powerful. They have quite a decent amount of special rules, but it is also in a book that is focused on infantry that should be able to hold their ground on their own without any hero support. So it makes sense that they start out with quite a decent stat line. There is a synergy built in the book with the Temple Legate. I think fluff-wise it's really cool, but maybe the rules that the Temple Legate gives to the Blades of Darak are also still a bit too exorbitant. So, for example, you can get a model that gives them distracting, however, a defensive 3 already. You can face opponents that are going to hit you on 5 up, which is kind of harsh. Otherwise, you can give them reroll, give the enemy reroll armor saves. You can put on a banner with AP1 then, and then the reroll armor save is really going to go through to great effect. However, it only triggers on models that already start out with an armor of 4 or better. But yeah, the Temple Militants themselves, they have battle focus, fight an extra rank, lightning reflexes, ruthless efficiency, and Blades of Darak. Darak. The fight an extra rank was a consideration against 2 attacks per model, because previously the Blades of Nab, they started with 1 attack with 2 attacks with paired weapons, so they got to 3 attacks each. And the Temple Militants, they don't, so they only stay at 2 attacks after the Blades of Darak. However, this was counterweighted by the fight an extra rank. So basically they are, in that sense, worse than Blades of Nab, because if you get a flank charge, you don't get as many attacks back. Yeah, so I think the most important here is the Ruthless Efficiency, which gives you +1 to wound in the first round of combat. So effectively you're at strength 4, AP 0. However, against monsters, +1 to wound is way better than +1 strength. And the Blades of Darak. So they give you the attack value to bring you to 2 attacks. You do not ignore parry. You do get magical attacks though, which is nice. And also for every spell that lasts 1 turn cast on this unit, you get an extra strength. And that is the big thing basically. You can, if you cast 2 spells on this unit, you effectively have a strength 6 unit in the first round of combat and core. And I think that is just 1 strength too many. So I would personally, fix this by making them go to strength 2. And then, well, probably a lot of people are going to be outraged to have a core unit with strength 2. But effectively in the first round of combat, you're going to be at strength 3 anyway, and you're an elf book, so that makes sense. And then with the buffs, you can get them really up to high power levels still. Then my number 2 pick is going to be the orcs from the Orc and Goblin book. So you have the choice first of taking either Adbashers or normal orcs. And Adbashers, you can take 1 unit in your army. They have an extra strength. However, they go to, I believe, 16 points per model, which is insane compared to the amount of points that you pay just for normal orcs, which is 9 points per model. So I'm a bit of a more fan of the normal orcs. However, I mean, I don't play orcs and goblins regularly myself, so there must be a reason why people shy away a bit from normal orcs from time to time. However, the chassis that you're building on, it just looks fine to me. I mean, you have 1 attack, offensive 3, strength 3, which is nothing to brag about. However, you do have Born to Fight, so effectively you have +1 strength and +1 AP if things are going well. In the first round of combat is always great, and as long as you're steadfast, you're just going for the grind there. Your defense with feral orcs is defense 2, which is rather nasty against other offensive 3 units. However, for the most of the enemies, you're just not really going to care whether you're defense 3 or 2. But you have resilience 4, which is decent again. You barely have any armor. However, with the feral orcs, I think the feral orcs, they're just mostly focused on damage output. So because you get double battle focus, and then I might want to go for the Adbashers. With the common orcs, I would probably not go for Adbashers because I'm always just really impressed with the upgrade of heavy armor and crossbow. However, well, then you just turn your combat unit into a support unit basically. Yeah, they look kind of cheap to me. You get resilience 4, you have a war cry, which is, I haven't talked about it yet, but this is the rule that makes them really, really good for me. Because, well, once again, infantry struggles a bit with mobility. You get +1 advance and you get swift stride suddenly, and this is, I think this is something that Orc and Goblins players underestimate a lot. Because as an opponent, 2 orcs and goblins, you have to account for the war cry every single turn. So every turn that you're playing, you have to account for the fact that your opponent could use the war cry. And this is an effect that you don't really see on the table as clearly as some other effects like having crossbows on your orc. Yeah, so as a combat unit, I mean, 30 additional models. You could field 50 models in a unit. Wow. I think the only downside the orcs have, which is the same downside that barbarians have, is that their base size is 25 by 25 millimeters because of legacy reasons. And Yeah, barbarians are really crippled by this, I feel, because the extra 2.5 centimeters that you gain in base in unit width compared to a 20 millimeter unit, that is really substantial. It works out in your wheels, it works out in your frontage. It's just, I mean, if you want to feel the horde, then it's going to be so incredibly wide. Anyway, my number two pick is going to be the Orcs, mostly because of Swift Stride on charge, because of versatility, and because they're just the. And then my number one pick, drum rolls please, it's going to be the Empire of Sunstal Heavy Infantry. So this unit, basically the stat line is not good at all. I mean, you have one attack, offensive 3, which is shabby, strength 3, which is shabby, agility 3, which is you have one health point, defensive 3, resilience 3. You just have light armor and a shield, which is just the standard um, victim stats, basically. You have advanced 4, march 8, nothing special there. You have discipline 7, which is meh. Yeah, this all looks rather bad. However, you have a parent and support system behind these models. So a good thing to note here is that if your starting size is 20 models, you're a support unit. If you have 21 or more models, you become a parent unit. I believe not a lot of units or not a lot of players actually use these guys as parent units. However, I've also been doing it for some time, and it is quite successful. It's also really, really fun to just play a list with a lot of heavy infantry. I mean, really tons of it. Just a mix of units of 21 and 20, so that half of your army is parent and the other half is support. Probably you want a little bit more support even. But yeah, these special rules that they gain from this parent support system is quite impressive. So first of all, they're cheap, and then with the orders, they can become quite mobile. Because you have on the double order that you can give with a marshal, so you get +1 advance rate, which helps you on the charge, and +4 march rate. So the advance rate, you still don't get any swift stride. However, you're going to have a lot of different units on the field if you really play heavy infantry heavy. Um, and also, if you don't, then still your support units are going to be quite close to your parent units. So you don't really need this high advance. And then, yeah, in terms of other orders, you have Brace for Impact to help out your Horde units to gain fight and extra rank. And Steady Man, this is a really interesting order because the way the orders work is that a character with orders, well, you can read it in the top right, you can give a single order to a parent or support unit within 8 inches, and this is at the start of your turn. And then the effects last until the end of the player turn. So this is before you do any rally tests or anything. So, for example, you have a unit that is fleeing, then you can give the Steady Man order on them, and then suddenly the discipline test that you're taking is minimized, and the unit, if it passes a rally test, it doesn't become shaken. So you can still shoot, or you can still reform and move. So that is really interesting. I mean, Empire of Sun style support units don't have any shooting weapons that are quick to fire, which is a shame. But that's also probably a design choice. Now, the parent support system, this is really where it comes together. So first, it used to be so that it only worked within 6 inches, but then the improved to make it work into 8-inch range really made the army work. So supporting charges, this is something that doesn't work that well, I would say, because, well, in most cases, if you're going to charge with your parent unit, you can charge with a support unit, but the scenario is not going to be any different. However, what happens is you have a parent unit, you charge an enemy unit, and then your opponent can give a charge reaction. After that, you can charge a supporting charge with a support unit, and then your opponent cannot give any charge reaction anymore, so he can't suddenly flee, which is really big in tournament play. Because while in friendly play, you just say like, yeah, then I would just have flat for the parent unit charge. but then again, yeah, then your support unit is still free to do what it wants. And also, when calculating combat scores in the following melee phase, so only one, however, you combine the rank bonuses of both the parent unit and the support unit. The only downside here is that support units can only be 20 men big, so this maximum of +6, you rarely reach it, because there's going to be a situation where one of your support unit models is going to be smacked down, negating your full rank bonus. Then the most interesting part of this rule, well, there's still two. So the first off is that if you are in combat with a support unit, you can, and you have one full rank in your unit, you can count the amount of full ranks of a parent unit within 8 inches to determine whether you're stat fast. So your 5, 6 or 7 support heavy infantry, they're gonna still be stat fast if a unit of heavy infantry parent unit is nearby, and also immediately after a parent unit within 8 inches voluntarily chooses a charge reaction, the support unit may stand and shoot as if the enemy had declared a charge against them, or after all enemy units have completed their charge move, so after all charges have been declared and everything, support units within 8 inches of any parent unit that was successfully charged in this phase may counter charge. This is really big as well. So in your movement phase, you can set it up so that your heavy infantry is just set up in a really defensive way that you can get a flank charge on anything that charges in. And then your opponent charges in on your heavy infantry, they're going to stick out, and you're going to have a flank charge ready to give you not only a flank charge, but a flank charge with a full rank, and 3 ranks, and a banner, and a charge. So that's another 5, 6, 7 combat rests that the enemy just suddenly has to face. So that is really incredible. And then they recently got buffed quite a bit, to be honest, with the introduction of the giant supplement. So the giant special rule, or the giant see, giant do rule for Empire of Sun style giants is support unit. So the giants become support units, which means that they can also stand and shoot if you fit them out with a volley gun. However, with a volley gun, I mean, you're hitting on a 4+, you're going to go stand and shoot on a 5+. It's going to be probably long range, it's going to be 6+. So if you roll a 6 to it, then you're going to be hitting on 7+. So that is not really viable in my view. However, a giant with a giant club, I mean, just a lot of strength 6 attacks that suddenly counter charge. You're not going to get any rank bonuses from this guy, but suddenly adding a giant to the playing field is quite impressive indeed. Yeah, so with that, I think heavy infantry is going to be my number 1 pick. I've played them a lot with Empire of Sun style, and they've always performed well. Just because of the potential that you can get out of them. So the support units of 20, they are really valuable if they're in the right place. They're only 145 points before any upgrades. They do also really benefit of the cost reduction of the command groups. I mean, previously it was kind of hard to spend any points on these units because basically full command would mean that you increase the unit cost by like 30 or 40%. But right now, I mean, it's a standard is an obvious pick now, and a champion is actually also an obvious pick now to minimize damage output from your opponent on your unit and just divert away characters. I think this is just going to be my number 1 pick. That's going to be it for today. I hope you liked the video, and well, let me know if you agree with my picks or not, or if there's any really strong infantry that I missed.